We have learned how the Ice Age profoundly impacted geological history and human civilization. The emergence of Beringia as a land bridge between continents played a crucial role in the early development of civilization in North America, long before Columbus's arrival. Speaking of Columbus and his connection to early American history, many of us might share the belief that Columbus was the first European explorer to reach the American continent. But is that true? Let's delve further into the early history of America. The first Europeans to reach North America were a group of Norsemen who came from Greenland. Eric the Red established a settlement in Greenland in 985 AD. His son, Leif Erikson, is believed to have explored the northeastern coast and established a temporary settlement in what is now known as Newfoundland, Canada, and its surrounding areas. In the past, the claims of Viking exploration in North America remained unproven until the discovery of Norse house ruins at L'Anse aux Meadows in 1963. John Cabot arrived in Newfoundland in 1497, just 5 years after Columbus, and this served as the basis for England's claim to North America. Christopher Columbus never set eyes on the mainland that would become the United States, but early exploration in this region began with Spanish colonization efforts he assisted. In 1513, a group led by Juan Ponce de Leon landed on the shores of Florida, near what is now known as St. Augustine. This marked the beginning of European exploration in this region. After Spain successfully conquered Mexico in 1522, their presence in the New World was strengthened. In 1529, the Spanish produced an accurate map depicting the Atlantic coastline from Labrador to Tierra del Fuego. However, it would take more than a century for further explorations to uncover the Northwest Passage to Asia. One significant early Spanish exploration was led by Hernando de Soto. De Soto, an experienced conqueror who had accompanied Francisco Pizarro in the conquest of Peru, initiated his expedition in 1539. They reached Florida and explored the southeastern regions of the United States in search of treasure. Other Spaniards, such as Francisco Vázquez de Coronado, set out from Mexico in 1540 in search of the mythical seven cities of Cibola, believed to possess mystical value and great wealth. While Coronado's journey took him to places like the Grand Canyon and Kansas, they did not find the riches they sought. However, their expedition inadvertently introduced them to the Indian tribes of the Great Plains, significantly altering their way of life. Meanwhile, the northern coastal regions of North America began to be explored by figures like Giovanni da Verrazzano, an Italian sailor who landed in North Carolina in 1524 and continued northward along the Atlantic coast until reaching what is now known as New York Harbor. 10 years later, Jacques Cartier, a French explorer, set sail with hopes of finding a sea route to Asia. His expedition along the St. Lawrence River, which later formed the basis of France's claim to North America, continued until 1763. After the collapse of their first colony in Quebec in the 1540s, French Huguenots attempted to establish a settlement on the northern coast of Florida 20 years later. This alarmed the Spanish, who viewed the French as a threat to their trade routes along the Gulf Stream and led to the destruction of the colony in 1565. Ironically, the leader of the Spanish forces, Pedro Menendez, went on to establish the nearby city of St. Augustine, which would become the first permanent European settlement to develop into the United States. As wealth began to flow into Spain from colonies in Mexico, the Caribbean, and Peru, other European powers became interested in the New World. England was drawn in partly due to the success of Francis Drake's attacks on Spanish galleons carrying treasure. In 1578, Humphrey Gilbert received orders from Queen Elizabeth I to colonize the heathen and barbarous land in the New World. However, it took him 5 more years before he could begin this task. When Gilbert went missing at sea, his half-brother, Walter Raleigh, took up the mission. In 1585, Raleigh established the first English colony in North America on Roanoke Island, off the coast of North Carolina. Unfortunately, this colony was later abandoned, and subsequent efforts 2 years later also failed, leading to the unsolved mystery of the lost colony. However, England tried again 20 years later by founding Jamestown in 1607, marking a new era in the history of North America.